The Galactic Council chamber fell silent when the human ambassador stepped forward. His name was Marcus Cole, and he wore the simple gray uniform of Earth's Defense Coalition. Around him sat representatives from 12 alien species. Their eyes held the same expression that humans had seen for 30 years since first contact. It was doubt. Pure, absolute doubt. "You cannot be serious," said the Valari High Speaker. Her forearms crossed over her chest as she looked down at the human. "The Kithrani Dominion has destroyed 17 civilizations. They have ships that number in the hundreds of thousands. And you, with your fleet of perhaps 800 vessels, believe you can hold the outer reach?" Marcus did not blink. "We do not believe. We know." Laughter filled the chamber. It came from the Torvin delegation, their scaled faces twisting with amusement. It came from the Methali, their crystalline bodies humming with mockery. Even the ancient Dovani, who rarely showed emotion, allowed themselves small smiles. "Humans have been part of the galactic community for only 3 decades, the Valari continued. "You have fought no great wars. You have faced no true enemy. The Kithrani will crush you in days, perhaps hours. Then they will move on to more important worlds." Marcus looked around the chamber slowly. He memorized each face, each expression of doubt, each dismissive glance. Then he spoke words that would echo through history. "Watch us." He turned and walked out of the chamber. Behind him, the council members shook their heads. Another young species. Another foolish civilization that did not understand the true nature of galactic warfare. They would learn. They would fall. And the council would note their passing with mild regret before moving on to other matters. What the council did not know was that humanity had been preparing for this moment since the day they learned about the Kithrani. For 30 years, Earth had studied. Earth had built. Earth had trained. Every factory on every human world worked around the clock. Every scientist focused on a single goal. Every soldier trained for the day when the Dominion would come. The Outer Reach was a region of space containing 47 human colony worlds. It was the furthest extension of human civilization, and it was directly in the path of the Kithrani advance. The Dominion had already sent their message. Surrender or be destroyed. No negotiation. No mercy. This was how the Kithrani operated. This was how they had operated for 10,000 years. Admiral Sarah Chun stood on the bridge of the battleship Defiance. Around her, officers moved with quiet efficiency. Screens showed the positions of every human ship in the sector. 812 vessels. Cruisers, destroyers, carriers, and support ships. Against them would come the Kithrani 3rd Expeditionary Fleet. Intelligence suggested they would bring at least 3,000 warships, possibly more. "Admiral," said her tactical officer, "long-range sensors are detecting hyperspace signatures. Massive ones." Sarah nodded slowly. "How many?" "Still counting. At least 4,000 confirmed. Possibly 5. Around the bridge, officers exchanged glances. The odds had just gotten worse, but Sarah Chun simply smiled. It was a cold smile, a determined smile. The smile of someone who had made peace with what was coming. "Signal the fleet," she said. "Execute Protocol Omega." The human ships began to move. They did not form the standard defensive formations that other species used against the Kithrani. Instead, they spread out across the system in what appeared to be random patterns. Some hid behind asteroids. Others positioned themselves near gas giants. A handful of ships actually moved toward the incoming enemy. When the Kithrani fleet emerged from hyperspace, their commander was Grand Marshal Vorik. He had personally overseen the destruction of 6 civilizations. He looked at the human positions with confusion. This made no tactical sense. These humans were scattered, vulnerable, easy targets. Were they so primitive that they did not understand basic military strategy? "Open communication," Vorik ordered. "I wish to speak with whoever commands this pathetic defense." Admiral Chun's face appeared on his screen. She was calm. Too calm. Grand Marshal, she said, I am Admiral Sarah Chun of the Earth Defense Coalition. I wanted to speak with you before this begins. To surrender? Vorik asked. Wise choice. No, to give you a chance to surrender. Vorik stared at the screen. Then he laughed. His bridge crew laughed with him. A human, offering the Kethrani a chance to surrender. It was the funniest thing he had heard in centuries. Your species is entertaining, he said when the laughter died. I will make your death quick out of respect for your courage. Even if it is born of foolishness. You misunderstand, Sarah replied. I am not being brave. I am being practical. You see, Marshal, your fleet has already lost this battle. You simply do not know it yet. Vorik ended the communication. He gave the order to advance. 5,000 Kethrani warships surged forward, their weapons powering up. They expected this to be easy, quick. Another minor conquest before lunch. The first Kethrani ship exploded without warning. One moment it was there. The next, it was debris. Vorik stared at his screens. No weapon had been fired. No missile had been launched. What had happened? Then another ship exploded, and another. Report. Vorik demanded. Mines, Grand Marshal. The entire system is filled with mines. Millions of them. They are too small for our sensors to detect until we are right on top of them. The humans had spent 3 years seeding this system with mines. Tiny devices, no larger than a human fist, filled with concentrated explosive compounds that human scientists had developed specifically to penetrate Kethrani armor. The mines floated silently in the void, waiting for any ship that came too close. Vorik ordered his fleet to slow down, but slowing down made them targets. That was when the human ships hidden behind asteroids opened fire. They used weapons the Kethrani had never seen before. Railguns that fired projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed. Plasma lances that could cut through shields like they were not there. Missile salvos that broke apart into hundreds of smaller warheads, overwhelming point defense systems. The Kethrani fought back. They were not weak. Their weapons were powerful. Their crews experienced. Human ships began to take damage. Some were destroyed. But for every human ship that fell, 10 Kethrani vessels died. The scattered formation that had seemed so foolish now made perfect sense. The human ships were never where the Kethrani expected them to be. They struck from angles that should have been impossible. They worked together with a coordination that seemed almost supernatural. What Vorik did not know was that every human officer, every human crew member had trained in virtual reality simulations for years. They had fought this battle 1,000 times before it actually happened. They knew the Kethrani tactics. They knew the Kethrani weaknesses. They knew exactly how this enemy thought and moved and fought. The battle lasted 18 hours. When it was over, the Kethrani 3rd Expeditionary Fleet no longer existed. 4,800 ships destroyed. 200 captured. Marshal Vorik died when his flagship was hit by simultaneous fire from 23 human vessels. The human losses were significant. 304 ships destroyed. Another 200 damaged. Thousands of lives lost, but they had won. Against odds that should have been impossible, they had won. News of the battle spread across the galaxy within hours. The council members who had laughed at Marcus Cole stopped laughing. The species, who had dismissed humanity as young and weak, suddenly began to pay attention. And the Kethrani Dominion, for the first time in 10,000 years, knew fear. But the war was not over. The Dominion had many more fleets. They gathered the largest armada in their history. 12,000 ships, led by the Supreme Commander herself. They would crush these humans. They would make an example of them. No one defied the Dominion and lived. The second battle of the Outer Reach lasted 3 days. The humans lost 500 ships on the first day alone. But they did not retreat. They did not surrender. They fought with a ferocity that the Kethrani had never encountered before. When their ships were damaged, They rammed the enemy. When their weapons failed, they used their ships as weapons. When all seemed lost, reinforcements arrived from Earth, ships that had been built in secret. Ships that carried weapons even more advanced than before. On the third day, the Kathrani Supreme Commander sent a message to Admiral Chung. She asked for terms. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. They had received reports that seemed impossible. The Kathrani Dominion, the terror of the galaxy for 10 millennia, had sued for peace with the humans. Not just peace. The Dominion had agreed to withdraw from all conquered territories. They had agreed to pay reparations. They had agreed to release the slave populations they had held for generations. The Valari High Speaker stood before the council. Her face was pale. Her hands trembled. "I must read this statement from the Imperial fleet of the Kathrani Dominion," she said. "These are the words of Supreme Commander Zeleth, recorded before her death in the final battle." The chamber fell silent. The Valari began to read. "To my fellow Kathrani, and to all who will hear this message. We were wrong about the humans. When we first encountered them, we saw a young species with primitive technology and small numbers. We saw easy prey. We saw another conquest to add to our long history. But we did not see what mattered most. We did not see their resolve. The humans do not fight like other species. They do not know when they are beaten. They do not accept defeat. When their ships are destroyed, their survivors keep fighting. When their worlds are threatened, they fight harder. We killed millions of them in these battles. But for everyone that fell, 2 more took their place. Their courage is not born of ignorance. They know what they face. They simply do not care. I have commanded the Imperial fleet for 300 years. I have destroyed civilizations that were older than the humans' recorded history, but I have never faced an enemy like this. The humans do not just fight for victory. They fight because they cannot imagine any other choice. Their resolve is not a tactic. It is their nature. The council doubted them. I know this because I watched the recordings. I saw them laugh at the human ambassador. I saw them dismiss humanity as foolish children. But the Imperial fleet never doubted. We faced them in battle. We saw the fire in their eyes. We felt the weight of their determination. The war is over. The humans have won. And the galaxy will never be the same. The Valari finished reading. The chamber remained silent for a long time. Then Marcus Cole stood. He was older now, his hair showing gray at the temples. He had lost friends in the war. He had lost family, but he was still standing. Humanity was still standing. "We asked only for respect," he said quietly. "We asked only to be seen as equals. You doubted us. The Kathrani doubted us. But doubt does not defeat us. Doubt fuels us. It reminds us what we must prove again and again, until no one in this galaxy ever makes the mistake of underestimating humanity." He looked around the chamber. Every face was watching him now. There was no doubt in their eyes anymore. There was something else, something that looked very much like awe. "We are humans," Marcus said. "We do not know how to quit. We do not know how to surrender. We only know how to fight. And we will keep fighting until the very last star goes dark." The council approved humanity's application for full membership that very day. And across the galaxy, in 1,000 different languages, the story of human resolve was told and retold. The species that had been dismissed as young and weak had shown the galaxy what they truly were. They were survivors. They were fighters. They were humans. And they would never be doubted again.